Okay, now let's put that disc in there. So, yeah. Oh, I need more monitors. Get a little bit of music playing, will we? What happened there? Yeah, sure. A little bit of Hoffman, keep us company. Okay. So, where we were last time, which was last night, was it? No, the night before. I got this screen working to the point where we've got RGB backlighting and the actual text working, and it went a bit funky at one point when I flashed the firmware, but all seems to be fine now. So I'm not going to question it too hard and just say, yeah, that's working, tick. So that is that's good. Now, so what were we doing? Okay, yeah, so what I have is oh, I'm trying to remember where I was now. What was I doing? Oh yes, I was looking at getting the settings, the new settings I added to actually transfer over to the Solas. So what I've done is I've added an audio event mode. So what'll happen is that, so initially, basically the Solas would react to these four basic states. So you had idle, floppy access, HDD access, or PCMCIA access. So if any of those four were active, you could set a specific LED pattern, and it would, so when you put it in a floppy disk, it would, it will change the pattern to match. Now, what I have done is, and this is one for Graham. Yeah, I don't know if Graham's around, probably not, but yeah, this is one for Graham, and he asked for a specific audio mode. So what this will do is when it actually detects that there's audio playing, it will switch the LED pattern. So I've added the actual, the interface part, the user interface bit, and I've added it to the firmware of the Solas as well. I have to now see about basically sending the settings, because at the moment the settings are present on both parts, but the actual communication is not there in between the two halves, let's say. So let's look at our source code, which is in Blitz Basic, amazingly. So on the firmware side, the source is in C, but I'm using Blitz Basic on the Amiga because I like it. And okay, let's see. So where were we going? Send all settings. So this was, let me see now. So currently we were only sending four event patterns. So an event pattern is like a sort of a set of settings for one of those events. So it's a set of settings that defines the LED patterns and that. So what we're doing is we change that to 4. And you know what we'll do actually, just for this, we're going to switch, because we don't need to see what's going on in the machine for the moment. We'll let's see. Does that look a bit better? Yeah, there we go. So we're sending 4 events now instead of 3. I'll save that. And this also lets me see exactly what I'm clicking on. Okay, and now what we'll do is I'll switch over to my firmware, and let's just see if that works. My firmware development thing. So let me see if I have it set to receive those settings, and let's go up and modify it to do that. So saving and loading settings, that's done. Now this again is, you know, I think I apologized for this the other day, but it's a slightly messy setup of code. Okay, so this is our the segment of code for when we actually get data from the host. So this is where all our settings come in, or commands, settings, queries, kind of all starts off here. So basically, even though the commands are the kind of the key things, once you send a command, it only puts it in kind of command receiving mode, and after that we have to look for every time a byte of data arrives. So we do that here, and if we look for the event command, this is what we're looking for here, and we can see that yeah, so this actually doesn't have any this doesn't deal with the numbers, it just takes the actual event code, and that's it. So that's fine. So if we switch back to the Amiga, we should be able to see that we're sending the actual event code, which is J in this loop. And it's, yeah, so that's just sending. That's fine. Okay, so we're actually okay there, I think. Are we? Yeah, probably. Well, you know what? Let's give it a go and see what happens. I will switch back to our other view now for that. So see here we've got our idle is doing this kit pattern. You can see it on the top camera view there. You can see this, we've got green LEDs bouncing back and forth. They're very bright. We'll tone them down a bit. Okay, still too bright. Anyways, it'll be fine. So what we want to do is we want to say if there's audio, we'll change it to, now just for just so that we can tell that something has happened, we're going to change it to a solid red pattern. And we are playing audio, so so it clearly hasn't worked. So idle is green, and that is solid red. Okay, so yeah, so there's something still missing from the firmware end, because that should now be sending all 4 patterns, including the last pattern, which is this audio pattern. Okay. So we do get our event threshold. Oh. Now that's I missed that the other day, so that's going to cause problems. Yeah. Now I don't know if that will have been the actual issue. What we'll do is we'll go back here. We've still got our Solas program working, so yeah. So let's see. Yeah, so our event threshold, it goes in there. So now we should have the setting, the event threshold setting, and the software on the Amiga side should pick that up. So the configuration here, event threshold 110. So we are reading the setting correctly. The setting is there. We probably are getting more than 110. Let's see what that looks like on the firmware side. So this firmware works in a kind of basically on a heartbeats kind of system. So a heartbeat is kind of about 1/10 of a second, I think. I can't remember exactly how long it is. It's roughly, it's based on the clock speed and whatever it has to do. So it's not even going to be the exact same length of time. Oh no, sorry, it is. It's interrupt driven. It's just, yeah, it's not a precise timing thing. So here's our heartbeat, and every time the heartbeat beats, every time that interrupt triggers, it reads the ADC level for the audio input. Okay, and it updates that, and it gives you the level. So level.level. Now up at the top of our main loop, we have, here we go, what actually defines the events. So if current event's not equal to EV preview, that's fine. So let's say our event is idle. It'll go in here. It will check if level is greater than event threshold. I copied this, so yeah, of course we don't have an event for that. Current event is EV. Copying and pasting code. That's what happens. Okay. I might give that a build now and see what happens. Switch back to the Amiga and add some more tunes. Now, yeah, I'm not hugely into my mods, so forgive me for these. They're just kind of grabbed at random there a while ago, but some of them look like they're not even going to run the size of them. Sure, we'll just fire these in at random. Because, with the Blitz Basic environment open, we've got a sort of fairly limited chip RAM. But we'll go with them anyway. Now, the build is done, so I'm just going to fire through my programmer here. Okay, so yeah, that's our programmer's running. And done. Okay, so now we've got our new firmware. Let's apply the settings and see what happens. Hey, now it's detecting audio. What happens if we pause it here and see? This looks good. Although the threshold is possibly a little high because it is not detecting the quieter stuff. But when we pause it, it does fall back to the main pattern, which is great. So this is working. It's actually working. Amazing. So let's see if we drop this threshold in. See, now I can't remember. Yeah, so the actual level, so the offset basically is So basically how the level works is you get an ADC value, which is kind of 1 to 65,000 or something like that, whatever the ADC thing is. Now, an audio signal isn't going to get anywhere near that, so it goes probably up to, the idea here is it goes up to about 600, but the bottom, it never, even when it's totally quiet, there's still a little bit of noise, and it never quite gets down to the bottom. So what the offset is sort of like a bottom margin, and that means that any audio LED effects don't trigger even when it's basically so basically if you've got a level meter going, that it only sort of triggers once there's sort of significant audio. So essentially the offset is 100 and the range is 500. That means that all your audio kind of reaction space is between the levels of 100 and 600, but it subtracts the offset from the actual value. That's why it's only 500. So essentially it reads the value, subtracts 100, and then basically says any value between 0 and 500 is mapped to a distance on the LEDs. So that's it. So but the event threshold is probably too high then, because that means that won't kick in until it's 210. So I was initially thinking it would kick in just above 100, so at 110. But if we try, let's say 20 there. And now, okay, so the audio is dipping. I wonder if we just be done with it and say 0. Oh yeah, because we can't go below 0, and that is a margin that cuts off. So you know what, this actually setting might not even make sense. Let me see. Just 2 seconds. Should we leave it playing anyway? I have an idea. When I pause that music, is it going back to the start of the track? I just realised we listened to the same track for a while. But yes, okay, so threshold set to 0. Yeah, I don't think this event threshold setting makes any sense. I might even remove that in a later version. We'll see what happens. But what we can do to stop that from basically flickering when this audio goes quiet, we've got this event hold here. I'm going to change the name of that because it was intended originally to stop the pattern rapidly changing with the flickering of a hard drive light. But if we change that to, let's say, 50, it will hold the event basically. So once it's triggered, it will stay triggered for 50 heartbeats. So when we pause it, oh, okay, that was quite quick to go away. Okay, now that should hold it for a short while just so that the event stays in place. But anyway, the idea, okay, we've got it working with our solid pattern here, but the idea of that was to actually use it as a level meter. So let's say we've got our level meter with a green background and red meter. Oh, let's see, we need to up that speed. There we go. And so that's working. And if we pause, we go back to our old mode. It's suspiciously easy, this. Don't want to jinx it, but so let's just see if we turn the volume down on this. basically it needs, if it gets to a level where it can, see, no, it's still flickering there. It's still flickering between modes. So there's something funky with the firmware. Right, let's go back and look at the firmware. Why is our event hold counter? Forward.event hold. So that's our event hold setting. So what we're saying is, we know this is working because we're getting a level triggering when we go above the event threshold. But what we're saying is, if the current event right, so current event, so we're swapping the event to the audio event. If the previous event wasn't the audio event, we definitely have previous event equals current event. Okay. So, yeah, so basically this is saying that, yeah, if current event, what's going on here? Why isn't that working? Because it's the exact same code as for the hard drive LED. Event hold counter is board.event hold. Now, is our event hold settings getting mangled somehow? So what we're going to do, we'll reread the settings from the board and just make sure, yeah, it's event hold is there. What if we change that to 100? Well, let's see if it works for the hard drive, shall we? Oh. Yeah, hold on a second. Oh, very important phone calls regarding dinner. Right, where are we? Okay, yeah, so why are we not getting this event working fully? Why? Why indeed? Okay, this would be on the firmware side. So by the looks of things, because we do have the settings saved. Oh yeah, no, what I'll do is I'll go back to the Amiga. Let's see. And we'll check if it works with the hard drive. So HDD access will give us a nice blue solid pattern. So when we have hard drive access, oh, we probably don't have that connected up, do we? No, of course we don't. This this is the IDE adapter I'm using doesn't support it. Okay. It's going to do it the agricultural way. Oh, stuck. Oh, just give me a single. Why is there never one around? Right. Type, that'll do. Now. Oh, now I have to try and remember which pin this is. Okay, let me see. Keyboard, okay. So, hopefully it's the middle one. That works out well. Why did that not trigger then? Did I send that event? I did. Oh, because the audio has... Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, we need to set this to none. Has priority, because you don't want it constantly flickering with the hard drive access. So audio set to none. Hold on a second. Oh dear. Oh no, we're still fine. We're still fine. The audio set pattern falls back. So now it's reacting normally. Yeah, so if I just touch that, it gives a hold. I'm literally giving that the slightest little touch on the terminal. Let's have a look here. So I'm giving that just a tiny tap on the terminal and it is reacting as it should. Okay, so it's going bright blue for hard drive access, which is this one here. Bright blue, solid, that's what we want. And it's holding it for a second. Now, why is it not holding for audio? Pray tell. So we... Oh, of course. because oh, right. I think this is maybe a slight problem because okay, yes, the hold feature only extends the current pattern to a minimum rather than carrying it on after the actual trigger is finished. So I think I might actually have to change the whole behavior of that code. Well, no, because event hold counter. Okay, let's have a look and see how event hold counter is actually counted down, because I think that's counted down all the time. But if it's actually triggering, it resets the counter effectively. So let's find out where we're getting our event hold counter decrement. Yes, the heartbeat. So as it's set now, should be 100 heartbeats, which is like, yeah, maybe 2 seconds. It did hold there. Is it just a case that my my offset is a bit too conservative? What if I change that to 80? And it just doesn't drop down that far, maybe. Maybe that's all I need. So it just simply, yeah, decrements event hold counter. That's fine. And then so only then does it let the event change. Current event. Let me know if that audio is too much or too high or too low. Okay. Right, I can't really figure that out, but it looks like setting the offset a bit lower is just papered over the cracks. So it might just be that. Now, I picked that level as a sort of a fairly conservative thing, so you don't get it triggering with kind of random electronic noise. But let's see. We're back there, and we're not getting any jitters or anything like that. It's doing its normal pattern. Yeah. Okay, let's see what it does now when the mod gets a bit quieter. And there's your hold. Okay, so there is still audio playing there. So maybe we still need to go down to about 50 with this threshold. But see, now what's happened is, we pause the audio, we're still getting, you probably can't see it there, let me see. We're still getting the very bottom of the level meters triggering with basically what's this, whoop. You get the idea. But basically, they're up here, they're the first two LEDs. And so we're getting two LEDs triggering. Right, at that threshold. So 50 is too low. And so it's triggering constantly. So then we could adjust that, but that's basically going to be the same thing. So let's try 60. One LED. 70. Looks like 80 was about right. Okay, so at 80 we're back to our kit. Yeah. Now, yeah, so basically means that if the audio is very quiet, it's just going to switch away from that pattern, unfortunately. That's kind of as close as I can get, really, I think. Unless I do the calculation based on the raw value, not the offset, or not the level. So let me see if that can be done. Do I store both values? Yeah, but no, because no, because there's still a reading up to a certain point. No, I think that's as good as it's going to have to get. Yeah. Okay, we'll leave it. We will leave it basically at a level of 80. That should do it, because yeah, I don't see how I can get any lower, because once you go below 80, you're into the sort of the noise, like the electrical noise of the board. So I'm fine with that. Okay. Okay, well look, it's usable. It's something that can be refined later, maybe. I think that was our hold working there, actually. Because the meter dropped off down to 0, and it's still... So I think that's enough of a hold on it now that it works reasonably well. Okay. I think we'll stay. We'll go with that. We'll go with that. It was working reasonably well. Okay, so that's a tick. Now, the next thing was that the background of the LCD, like this, so our RGB LEDs in the backlight, like, so that's it at maximum blue. It's not actually that bright at all. So even if we ramp everything up to the max, like this, okay, yeah, it's washing out the camera there, but it still doesn't look incredibly bright. So I wonder if there is yeah, so I saw something in the data sheet about being able to set the brightness and contrast. So what we might do is we'll try and set them manually and see if they have any effect. And if they do, I'll put in, I'll add some sliders to this. So we'll have our red, green, blue data, or our RGB sliders, and then over here we'll have brightness contrast. So we've got plenty of width in that window for adding more stuff. Let's see if I can find the data sheet I was looking at the other day. What's this called? Oh yes. Okay, so let's see if we can see that. Can you? Yeah, that works. Okay, so this is a library that uses the functions, because this is made for Arduinos. It's kind of like a hobby thing. It doesn't really tell you how to actually deal with these communications issues. It doesn't tell you how to communicate. It kind of like all the examples and all this sort of stuff gives you is that it should be that you just sort of open the library and use these commands, or use this API. It doesn't actually tell you what the API does at a lower level, and the raw commands across the I2C bus are what I need. So so we've got basically up at the top here, we had a list of special characters that we can send. So and we have here enable, that's set the primary backlight brightness. So we actually set it with just the command symbol, and then this. So we set the brightness with just sending 7C and then 128. So let me just check that. So set backlight. Where do we have a set backlight? I saw it somewhere there, didn't I? Use standard. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Oh yeah, so this library also switches off the display to stop configuration message. I haven't seen any of these messages myself when I've been setting the colors, but maybe it's because I set the colors at the same time as clearing display. I can't remember exactly what order it's in, but possibly. I thought the clear was done first, but anyways, it's not. It doesn't affect us, but I might add that later if it does seem to be an issue. So set backlight. So it's just the standard setting command and then RGB command. So they're not special commands, which are another thing. Set contrast. Okay, here we go. So setting command, contrast command, new value. So let's say contrast is hex 18. So we're going to do this manually and just see what we can do. So contrast is hex 18. Change the contrast. So we'll try that first anyway and just see what it looks like. So we go back to the Amiga. I won't do that. So we can see the display. Now I'm going to turn the brightness down a bit so it could actually is a bit more visible. Yep. Okay. And so what we're going to do is, so this actual display is at address E4. That's the 8-bit display, or the 8-bit address, as opposed to the 7-bit address that's sometimes used. What I'll do is, I have my little poker here. So we're going to go to address E4. And we're going to send a message. What's the message going to be? It's going to be 7C, which is the command, setting command, and then 18, and then our contrast value, not 255. So 120 is the default. So let's have a look. Okay, let's see if this works. Contrast set 0. Okay, I did see a command flash up there. It doesn't look like the contrast has changed a jot, but it is definitely responding there. Now I'm going to change this page time to 50 so that it doesn't refresh as much. And that should, okay, and we'll try it again, but we are getting contrast set 0. We're still getting perfectly visible stuff, so I wonder if we set that to FF, is it the other way around? Let's see. Oh yeah, okay, so the lower the value, the darker it is, interestingly. Oh no, no it's not, it's exactly the same, it was just blanked. So why is that not having any effect? So 120 is, what's that, E8 or something like that. Or no, yeah, E8. I also wanted to add a function to the software. Now, is that just not refreshing now as quickly, or have I gone blank the screen or something like that? Let's set it back to FF. Oh, hold on a second. Yeah, I've been resetting the screen, haven't I? And now I've put it into some sort of funky mode. Okay, no, it looks like that's it. So I'm going to write that down. FF is low contrast, so as we move down from FF, we should get vague things. Sorry, I was clicking apply current settings, which resets the LCD, and I want to actually change that and put in a live preview mode for the LCD. Maybe that wasn't enough. So let's try 8.8. Oh, maybe I did get that wrong. 0.0. Contrast 0. Let's try 32. Okay, that's getting fainter. So 64. So the documentation or the library says the default it was 120. 120 seems to completely blank it. So I sent 64 there. That's 64, isn't it? 64, yeah. So here's the door. Good stuff. Okay. Hello, sorry about that. Okay, where were we? Yes, so contrast of 64 seems to be quite pale. Now, yeah, this library says 120 is the default. I can't see that being the case. So the contrast of 80 nearly disappears. So it's almost like the scale is not to 127. So sorry, 80. Yeah, that's it, completely gone. I can only barely see it there. So that's that's impossible to read. That's kind of that's 128. So that's halfway through the scale, and it's already completely invisible, or almost completely invisible. I don't know if it goes any more invisible. It does. Okay, so the scale does go above 128. So you can't see that. Okay, so the scale does go all the way, it looks like, but it doesn't seem to be, yeah, the default that's in that library is nonsense, it seems, or else I'm completely misunderstanding things. But okay, that's interesting. So we can set the contrast. That's great for this display anyway. I don't know if the other displays have that. I definitely know the cheaper ones, the Hitachi one doesn't, and the, that doesn't do anything like that. Basically, it's the contrast is set with a little trim pot on the back of the display. Where have we got one here? Yeah, the little backpack has a thing. So that's your Hitachi display. That there is how you adjust the contrast on those. So oh well, no way of doing that in software. But yeah, okay, so that's fine anyway. This is so what we'll do is we will add a contrast one here. Now, the next one was, let's go back and look at our data sheet here. Where is it? That's it. Let's see. What have we got? So that sets it with 3 bytes. That's fine. Now, brightness. If we just set the command and send a value higher than 128, that 128 to 157. So that sets the primary brightness. So sending a command of 80 essentially should just turn off the backlight or put it to its minimum brightness. So it doesn't say here that there's a default. Okay, so back to the Amiga and we'll try that. So that will only be a 2-byte message. So there's our setting, and then we just literally throw in 80. That should reduce the brightness to the minimum. It reduced the red to a minimum by the looks of things. You see, this is the confusing thing, right? We can see here, let's get rid of that. First I have to change the baud rate. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So this says set the primary backlight brightness. Now, does this mean also set the red if it's an RGB display? Maybe this is just a hangover from a single color display. But it's weird that you have both commands working the same way. But let's bump it up to the maximum and just see if that actually does make it any brighter. So so we were at kind of roughly even things, weren't we? Oh yeah, no, we're kind of around the middle. So what we'll do is we send 9D. It's looking kind of pink. But is that just because it has maxed out everything? So if we okay, better test, set it to white. Okay, so there we are at white. Now let's send that. Backlight 100%. That's the message we're getting. 9E. Green 0%. This doesn't make much sense to me. So it's basically just two different ways of setting the same thing. Oh, now. Maybe this does make sense because I'm going to go back to this cheap Hitachi one and show you now. This display. Oh yes, I was modding that for something, I can't remember what it was. Okay, so this display here, we can see, actually has an extra 2 pins here. And I think that they are used for, if you get one of the cheap RGB displays, they don't actually have an RGB controller on them. What they do is they basically take 3 pins of your Arduino or Raspberry Pi and just control each of the levels directly from the software. So it would be down to the Pi or the Arduino or the whatever chip you're using, the STM32, whatever it is, to actually do PWM pulse width modulation on those pins to set the color. So this one is set for one color and it's only using one of those 3 pins. So I suspect that when it's only got 1 pin set, that it only does it uses the red pin, or when it's only got 1 color, it uses the red pin for the backlight. So it kind of makes sense to do it that way. So it's it just seems a bit of an odd way of doing it. You know, it's misleading, I suppose. Primary backlight bright. Okay, so we can't set the backlight brightness, but for some displays, setting the red value will set the backlight brightness. So do I relabel this slider as the brightness one, or do I just have 2 sliders? Or do I... yeah. I don't know, I just put a note in the README saying where you don't have an RGB one, it is just the red slider that works. Maybe that's the simplest. Let people figure it out. RTFM. Okay. Right, well, we've got a contrast slider to add anyway. So I have to figure out how to do that. This window here, obviously there's plenty of width here. This window's feels a little bit awkward actually, because these are the minimum widths for all of these elements. So I should probably space this out a bit better and have... would it look funny if the contrast slider is the full height of that frame? I think it might. But if I put it in the same height as these ones, will that be a little bit confusing? Or will I just have that separately from... Oh, this is... Decisions. You know, I write interfaces as a programmer, not as a user. Okay, well, we'll have to do something anyway. Right, we'll save those settings to Flash and I just... Yeah, great. So this is the main Solas code, Solas control code. But there's a separate file that has all the interface definitions. And that's what we need. Let's see. So we have to find some new constants. Like navel. I've left some space here for extra stuff. Config. It's not quite there. Label contrast 292. And we multiply it up 293. And we just go with config contrast for that one. So that's our slider. I think for now we can just add it to the side of the existing group, which is kind of give it 4 sliders and have the color apply to all of them. We need a new spacer. Are we using HSpace 15? Oh. Why is that now? So we're not. We've actually removed HSpace 15, so that's spare. Okay, so this is our section here for the sliders. I don't know, what do you reckon? Will it look okay as a full height one, or in line with the other 3? And then if it's in line with the other 3, do I want to... It might look a bit awkward because the color will be above that and it'll have no effect on the color. We'll stick it in now anyway, just to get it working. Right. So what we'll do is config contrast. Okay. And we're going from 0 to 255 as well. Config label contrast. Now, look at this. You've got a little bit of text here. That's just an escape character. //1B. So that's just an escape character for using with MUI and MUI. And C means it'll be centered. And what that does, that'll make sure it's centered underneath the slider, no matter what way the frame and the window are stretched or moved. The text will be sort of centered over the slider. Because if you don't do that, what'll happen is they'll be left aligned, and so the slider will be here and your text will be sort of stick out to the side of it, because the sliders are quite narrow and normally they wouldn't. Well, it's less unusual, it's less common to have vertical sliders like that, but you know, I think they work well for this kind of thing. Okay, so now this is where we decide where it actually goes. Okay, so config slider. Are we doing 3 labels? Yeah, 3 config label. put it in here beside the blue. So that should insert the labels where we want them. Let's see if that worked. I'm very careful and compile it frequently and test it when I'm doing MEY stuff, because it has a habit of completely kicking your ass. It's quite unforgiving, you know, and it'll just crash and burn. So it looks like it compiled fine. Let's go into our configuration, LCD. I know I've got contrast here, and it is kind of separated. The color preview here. It's only separated because the text is longer, and that will probably be mitigated by changing the color model. So if we change that to that, no, it stays the same. Okay, so our contrast, we do have a slider in there for our contrast. I don't know if this box looks like it's just too wide now, and it just looks a bit messy, and that should definitely be stretching that address. But I think what's happening here is address is trying to stretch to the same as enable. So I'm going to put a little spacer in beside that tick box and get it a bit more spread out there. I think that'll work better. Now, obviously this doesn't do anything yet. We haven't put any of the handling code, but we have a contrast slider. I think because it seems that LCDs in this protocol use the red signal as the brightness. Is that a bit too loud? I'm going to turn the music down a bit. I think because of this protocol, and it seems like a lot of these displays use red as also the brightness, if nothing else is used. I'll just put a note saying that the first slider is your brightness, and hopefully that'll do. Okay. Why have our LEDs frozen? Why are our LEDs frozen? What's this doing now? Audio mode. Oh, it didn't read back those settings. It didn't read. Okay, so what happens is we lose our audio settings whenever we flash the firmware. Okay, or whenever we read back the settings. So this should work now. Let's see. 11 meter back there. Yeah, there we go. And we're back. Okay, right, now that's fine. Oh yeah, so put a spacer in there. That's what I'm going to do next. But when we rerun this software and it reads the settings again, it's going to lose the audio thing. So we'll also have to fix that. We'll have to query settings. Query settings, there we are. Fan settings, PID settings. Well, we might as well do it now. Contrast. So add on contrast after the backlight color. Contrast. Color contrast. Okay, and to do that we'll need to set that constant. So Solas constants. This is where we have everything defined. Oh no, that's not what we need actually. We need Solas control init. So this is where we set up our variables. LCD backlight color. So now I know these are all 8-bit values that we're dealing with, but because it's Blitz, it stores things as signed. Everything's signed. You can't have an unsigned value, so we have to use a word. So yeah, we are throwing an extra few bytes at these things, but it'll be all right. It'll be grand. Okay, that's me slightly sidetracked now. So we came here to fix the events, so it's only querying the first 3 events. So it's sending the 4, but it didn't read back the 4. So that should be that now. That's solved. Save that. What was the next thing? Oh, yes. Oh, it's down here. Maybe so we want to add a spacer, and to add a spacer to that, we also need to add a group. So we need a constant for that as well. Where are the events? Config group. Oh, we've got one more value we can use here, and then we should make it somewhere. So this is our backlight enable group 294. So this group will just consist of the checkbox and a spacer, and so that means that will sort of expand to fill the pane. So config group BL enable. So we'll just make that group with the 2 elements, and then let's go back down to where we were. Okay, so config label BL enable. Now, so this is where we are. This is our config. This is our checkbox, checkmark. And what we'll do is, so we'll add those 2 objects to the horizontal group. So just, it's called and we are adding, for anyone who's using Blitz and doesn't know, you can just move the cursor onto a keyword and press help, and you get at the top bar there, you get your arguments. Now, this is a slightly older version. I think it's been fixed in the more recent release of Amiga Blitz, but it does have a slight bug that when you press space, it goes away. Whereas that shouldn't happen, and that didn't happen in the older Blitz. But yeah, it's a nice feature to have all the same. Now, config group. Okay, so we're going to add the H space 15 we haven't used before, isn't it? Or yeah, we did use it, and we whatever that was, we didn't need it anymore, so it's a spare definition. And instead of config BL enable, we're going to change that to, instead of putting in the checkbox, we put in the group. Oh, and one more very important thing. Where did I put that? Because you have to create the group instead of, because what all that does in C terms, you know, people might be more familiar with programming MUI in C. This just sets up your tag list, and this is actually creating the definition and giving it to MUI to deal with. So yeah, and gives it a reference object number, so it can be referenced when you're building the window. So this group is config that should be it. We'll try that and see what happens. Oh. Config BL enable config. The E key is a little bit sticky on this keyboard. Is this the same thing? Oh yeah, no, we don't want to compile the MUI section. We want to compile the main code. Okay, it's looking good. Oh, it's not looking good. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. Oops. Reset. I had a disk in there for obviously for stopping the clicking. Just, I normally like to have in a click, but not on a stream, especially when it's sitting right beside the microphone. So we'll let this boot. I'll put that in and let it read. Yeah. Yeah, come on. Come on. Okay. Now, I don't know why that crashed. It may have been a RAM issue. Like a chip RAM issue. If it was running close to the bone and tried to open a window. Sometimes it can be your well, no, it didn't even try to run, did it? Oh, it did. It did try to run. Let's see if it happens again. Debugger. Yeah, no. This is what I mean. MUI will kick your ass. Brilliant. Okay, we'll let that boot up again, and now let's have a look at our code and see what's happened. And what usually causes these kind of things is incorrect references, or non-existent objects, or duplicated references. So we'll have to just have a more careful look at our code now and see. Get the music going again as well. Oh, come on. That won't work. Actually, you know what? No. Okay. Oh, we were somewhere down here, weren't we? Let's go with that. Okay. So yeah, no, I'm not happy with that, the way it's flickering like that. it's as if sometimes the hold counter is getting reset. I have to try and figure that out. Okay, no, we don't want to compile and run it. We don't, definitely don't, because there's something wrong in here. All our constants exist anyway, because it wouldn't compile without that. So let's see if we've reused a number somewhere. Config label contrast, and contrast is fine. And backlight enable group 4. So what we've added are 292, 293, 294. And they're not used elsewhere by the looks of it. Can't have been that crazy to use. No, I don't think I did. No. Fine. Okay, let's look at how we've set this up. Maybe I've messed up something here. So our slider was already working, a contrast slider, so the problem can't be that. Text config group. We haven't made two different constants with the same name, have we? Oh god. Yeah, that would do it. Ooh. What happened there? Config group BL enable. Config group BL enable. Now, this is something that Blitz should really trigger in its debugger. We've got two of them. So what are they? So the first one, config group. The first one is just the backlight enable and the backlight address. And the second group is the whole lot, including sliders. Just change this to BL check space. Slightly overleave it. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Where are we going? BL check space. Oh yeah, so what we did was, I should have seen that. We made a group and we made a group, and then we decided to add that to, oh yeah, we made a group with the check mark and space, and then we decided to add that to the same group. We added that to itself, and yeah, that was never going to work. BL check space. That looks better. Let's give that a go and see what happens. Ooh. So no major problems. You can still get problems with MUI where it crashes as soon as you open a window or try to use one of the gadgets. But let's have a look. This hasn't gone as expected. Where's the check mark gone? Why you know? Why you? Oh, something funky's gone on there. No matter. We'll try and ignore that. Okay. Oh, of course, because we didn't change the name of it. So we still try to add it to itself, but it doesn't exist. That should be it. Let's try again. It's kind of awkward looking, I'll be honest. But it works. Stuff is there. Contrast value. Right back to 0. What to do? So, I think it would look better if it was as it was, but contrast to the side. And will I make it full length then? Anyway, no, look, I'll sort that out afterwards. For now, it's there. It does look hideous, but it works well. Yeah. So we'll see about sending that to... Yeah, we'll see about sending that anyway. We already added that it gets, doesn't it? LCD / contrast. Yeah, so now we need to be able to send that setting. Send all settings. LCD config. Okay, so that'll send our contrast setting to Solas. Currently, Solas firmware hasn't a clue what to do with that, so we'll look at that now. Where am I going now? Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll run this. Anyway, we'll turn off the debugger because that slows everything right down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a bit shit. Okay, yeah, part of it is just this is too long, but it's either that or well, you could put another spacer in underneath there and have it medium, you know, have it split 50-50 so it would end a bit there. But I think it would be better for it to be the full width of these three and this one, and so have contrast separate. And yeah, we'll deal with that after. It's a little bit complicated to do a sort of a four-way thing like that in MUI. Because what'll happen is sort of each side will balance and you end up with this line not being correct, or this not line. You know, you have to choose one or the other to be straight. So doing stuff in a grid, it doesn't always work. Put them all in separate groups and just use it as a what I'll do is I can do that later. But anyways, yeah, let's get it working. So we've sent our contrast setting. So now we can look at our firmware code and see about the settings. So now in our Solas settings, we don't have LCD settings. We don't have, oh no. So now we've got a field for contrast in our settings struct. Give it a reasonable default value. Now we have to decide whether, with the graph up high, that should really translate into a low value. So I don't know if all screens work that way, or that should, you know, the graph up high should be like a dark, that's high contrast in my mind. Let me think about it. What does a normal let's see. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so this is how the actual circuitry works. Yeah, that's the old school, the Hitachi controller type setup, and yeah, you've got a variable resistor, just setting a contrast. Now, what would you say is a high contrast? I would say having too high contrast would mean that the whole display is dark. So what I think I'll do is I think I will, for this display, invert that value. So store it as it is, store it from 0 at the bottom of the slider to 255, and then invert it if it is this particular display. Well, given that this is the only one that I'm implementing, I'll just do it for that anyway. Okay. That's fine. Now that other library was saying is default of 120, which is nuts. So we'll have to say it's default of 200 because we're going to invert it, aren't we? LCD settings contrast is 200. And we want to get the actual setting as well. Case temp config, where's LCD config? Here we go. So this will be the 16th byte of LCD settings. I do want to add a separate command just for setting the backlight, because this is setting a lot of stuff that wouldn't normally be changed. And so just the visual stuff that can be changed kind of on the fly, I want to add that as a separate thing. So we'll do that after. Oh, we want to get rid of that as well. Yeah. Okay, so that's contrast setting received. We want to also send the setting back. So where's our settings query? If current query. LCD settings down here somewhere. LCD config. Okay, get rid of that. So now we're sending and receiving the setting. No, now we want to save the setting to firmware. Do we actually have space? Oh dear. Strip on settings, LCD settings. Oh, we've loads of space actually. Yes, I did reserve a lot of space for the LCD. Hopefully we don't need to use it all, but it's possible that we can use a lot of it for a splash screen. That can be user defined. So yeah, so we've still got 16 bytes left. It's not enough for a flash screen, is it? Might be. Okay. And we'll load that same setting. So that should be fine. So we actually have a set LCD set backlight function. I would do the same thing. So for now, we're just going to put this one in. Oh, it's like, what's going on here? Some funny indents. Okay, so to set the contrast, we need to send, it's basically kind of like this, but with a different command. So let's just say that. But it's not that long. It is address and contrast, so 3 bytes. So that's our setting, and what was our contrast is 18, and then our value. And then we're inverting it, so we're going to that should be it, shouldn't it? And we'll set that when we initialize the display, because we also set the backdrop at that point. Yeah. Okay. What else did we want to do with that? Was there anything else we wanted to do? Well, okay, we'll build that and make sure it works, and then we will have a look at we'll look at having a sort of a live preview mode for that. Where do we put LCD backlight? Set backlight, yeah. That should keep you happy. Yeah. Okay, so we'll compile that, send it over, and see if our contrast setting then works when we apply it from the software. And that'll let us know our communications and all that are working. Once we have that done, I'll do some new commands so we can do a live preview of whenever any of those LCD settings are changed, visual LCD settings like the backlight and contrast. Now, okay, that's built. Where's my programmer? It's here. I did open that, didn't I? I'll just see if that checksum is the same. It is, yeah. Okay, so that's set. Okay, so let's go over to our Amiga now, and we'll see that our LEDs are frozen because... Oh. Now send our settings again. Should pop into life, yeah. Oh, it still hasn't read back. So read back nonsense for that. That should have been fixed, shouldn't it? That's what we had. Okay, so that's our contrast at 0. 255. Hasn't made a difference. Why not? And it looks like it's still at the oh, you know what? I'm not actually collecting the interface values, am I? Sending them and receiving them, but not actually gathering them from the interface. Where is it get? Okay, we'll just copy this. And, yeah. LCD contrast. Contrast. Yeah, so it's defaulting to whatever it was. And now we have to do the opposite for when we read values. Set current settings. Slightly all over the place, but sure, it'll be fine. Contrast. Okay, so that should be it now. Oh. Let me see. Next to event mode. Oh. Fine. Oh, there's an exit. Now, let me see. So that, okay, yeah, that should be it. Let's see. Oh, hello. Hey, Andrew, how are you? This here, I'll show you now in a second, I'll demonstrate it, is I've added a couple of extra things for the LCDs now. Yeah, the camera is a bit washed out there, but we'll see what we can do here. Let's see. So basically, the first thing I've added is contrast control for the LCD, and here's our backlight control. We're going to turn this down a good bit and just see how it looks on camera when we change that. Okay, so dimmed it down a bit. This is not quite working, this audio mode. Okay, well, I'll go through the audio mode for you. So what's happening with this is, so you know you've got your floppy access, hard drive access, and each of these is triggered by a drive access thing. So now audio is triggered by the audio being above a certain level. So the idea is, and it's not quite working, is that you can set it like this. So let's say these settings are not being recovered properly. So there's something funny with my reading there. But don't worry about that for now. So when we send this, oh, it's perfect timing there because it's between tracks, isn't it? So you can see the normal Oh, what's happened here? Oh, okay, yeah, sorry, we need to bump these up. So what's happened is, you can see there that we've got our level meter going. And if the sound stops, it switches back to its old mode, which is idle. See? And then music starts, goes back into this mode. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So you don't. So basically, this came from Graham asking about, asking. So why isn't this working? And he had set up a thing for idle to have, or he'd set up this. Basically, he switched this to level meter, set that, and then switched it back to what he wanted for idle. So, it's just kind of like, I never even thought of it. So this is all the feedback I'm getting. So there you go. That's what it's about. Oh, yeah. Hello. I'll probably finish up now in a minute. Yes. Yeah. Don't worry. Cool. Yeah, we'll finish up now in a minute. Okie dokie. Yeah. But anyway, that's what it's about. So I've been warned off now. But yeah, so that's almost working. The only thing that isn't working is that, oh, and look, this, when you can't move a window like that, it says I'm very low on chip RAM. So yeah, it's the problem with running a couple of extra things like big tracks and having lots of windows open. But yeah, the only thing that isn't working is that it's not pulling the settings back from the Solas board now properly, which is a shame. I have to work on that. But the other thing I've added is contrast. Yeah. Oh, and enjoy the gig as well. Yeah. And yeah, I'll talk to you later. I'll be finishing up here now soon anyway. But yeah, so this display has a contrast setting, which isn't quite working yet. But yeah, it'll get there. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, cheers. But yes, I will leave it there for now anyway, because yeah, I have to go and collect the little lad from nursery. So right. Cheers for popping in, guys, and yeah, I will talk to you guys again soon. Enjoy your weekend, and I might or might not be on at some other point. It's kind of like, well, I'm bored, I'll go and do some streaming. But yeah, so yeah, I'll get this all fixed up, and there'll be a new version of Solas software in the not too distant future. Right. I will give this button a go again. Right. Bye.